Raypak, part of the Rheem family of companies. As a reminder to all of our participants, the instruction provided in this training is intended for qualified and experienced professionals. If you are not qualified, please do not attempt to apply these instructions on your own. This is another presentation of Raypak's Boiler Bite-Sized Bits. Welcome to another Boiler Bite-Sized Bit. In this presentation, you'll learn how to set the PIM dip switches for the XVers fire tube boiler. The platform ignition module, commonly called the PIM, is inside the junction box, accessible from the front behind the lower panel. The dip switches are recessed in a little box on the front of the PIM. Like the Versa board, there are 8 dip switches here also. We will discuss each of these on the next few slides. Dip switch number 1 gives the operator the option of defining the temperature differential or to allow the Versa program to determine the best differential temperature for the system. Auto differential is recommended here. The Versa program will optimize based upon system inputs to the best differential temperature to avoid short cycling. When it is necessary to run at very high temperatures that may threaten tripping the upper limit, you can use a manual differential temperature setting ranging from 2 degrees Fahrenheit to 42 degrees Fahrenheit, split evenly above and below the target. Dip switch number 2 only comes into play when PIM dip switch number 5 is on. If number 5 is off, then PIM dip switch number 2 does nothing. If PIM dip switch number 2 and number 5 are on, then the boiler will be looking for a volt DC signal from an external controller like an energy management system for direct drive function. With dip switch number 2 off and number 5 on, then the boiler will run to target temperature. This only applies to single boiler systems. Firing rate control from an external system will not work in cascade. A Temp Tracker Plus is an example of an outside driver that can be used here with dip switch number 2 on. PIM dip switch number 3 is the only one that has a slightly different meaning within the family of Raypak Versa controlled boilers. For the XVers, this tells the system if the boiler is plumbed primary or primary secondary. With primary plumbed XVers systems, this switch is off. For other Raypak boilers, this determines post-purge. With this dip switch off, post-purge is inactive, so you can see how this works here too. In a primary system, there's no need for post-purge, so leaving dip switch number 3 off works as a primary plumbing indicator for the XVers. PIM dip switch number 4 is an example of some helpful Raypak engineering. With PIM dip switch number 4 on, the boiler will cycle the pumps and the cold water protection if present after a period of 72 hours of inactivity. So say you were in shoulder weather, like spring or fall, and you get a week of warm weather where the boiler does not need to fire. You don't want the pump to seize up from inactivity, so this system helps prevent that. After 72 hours, the pumps will run for just 10 seconds, just enough to keep things working properly. During this 10-second period, the display will show exercise. PIM dip switch number 5 needs to be on to engage PIM dip switches number 2 and number 6, as they all support energy management systems. When driving the boiler from an external controller like an energy management system, also known as a building management system, then turn on dip switch number 5. The energy management system will connect up to ports 13 and 14 on the low voltage panel. If not driving from an energy management system, leave dip switch number 5 off, and the Versa system will drive the boiler. As just stated, dip switch number 6 only comes into play when dip switch number 5 is on. Here is where you select what kind of signal type is needed. On indicates a 4 to 20 milliamp signal, while off indicates a 0 to 10 volt DC signal. If not using an EMS system, then leave dip switch number 6 on the PIM off, as the Versa system likes the 0 to 10 volt DC signal. Dip switch number 7 is another example of some cool Raypak engineering. Turning on number 7 enables freeze protection for the boiler. It works like this. If the temperature drops below 45 degrees at either the inlet or the outlet sensor, then the boiler pump will run for just a bit, drawing some heat from other areas in the system until the temperature is higher than 50 degrees at both sensors. If the temperature continues to drop and gets below 38 at either sensor, then the boiler will fire for a few minutes until both sensors are over 42 degrees Fahrenheit. This process will override a soft lockout, but it will not override a hard lockout, as that could be dangerous. Dip switch number 8 controls the commission test. This is a handy tool for demonstrating that the high limit is working properly. With dip switch number 8 on, the boiler will run to 20 degrees higher than the high limit to force a high limit shutdown. Once complete, power off the boiler, turn off dip switch number 8, then turn on the boiler and clear the fault. Here is a summary for PIM dip switches on the most common XVers setup. For a single boiler operating on the Versa system, as in not on a building management system, and plumbed primary-secondary, turn on dip switches number 3, 4, and 7. Leave the others off. This will tell the boiler it is plumbed primary-secondary, and it will allow for pump exercise and freeze protection. Again, that's turn on 3, 4, and 7. And that concludes this boiler bite-sized bit for the PIM dip switches on the XVers fire tube boiler. Look for more bite-sized bits from Raypak. Raypak, engineered to perform, built to last.